As Republican candidates face their first test here in Iowa tonight, President Biden's campaign has sent several allies and/or surrogates, they're interchangeable, to the Hawkeye State. Minnesota Senator Tina Smith is in Iowa to support President Biden. She joins us now. Senator, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, a big Trump win tonight, which is expected by all participants, is good or bad news for President Biden?
You know, the reality is that all of these candidates are basically the same as far as we're concerned. And so if you look at the core issues that differentiate between these Republican candidates, President Biden, particularly I think about like on abortion rights, for example, they're all pretty much the same. So the big choice that the American public is going to be facing this November is really kind of already laid out, regardless of who wins.
Iowa's an adjacent state to Minnesota. There's tremendous concern, at least on the Republican side, and I think more broadly in Iowa, about the economy. It's a concern in Minnesota. How does the president's reelection campaign combat that?
Yeah, well, here's what I think. If you look at make the contrast on Republican candidates versus President Biden, I mean, Donald Trump, you know, kind of left the economy a shambles. Just last week, he was saying that he hoped the economy would tank because he thought that would be better for him in his election. He promised to make improvements to infrastructure and never got the job done. Contrast that with President Biden's record, where he has the highest job growth of, I think it's over 14 million jobs, the lowest unemployment rate of any president in, longest period of unemployment since the 1960s. So he has a really powerful job that he can talk about, but it's not just that, it's about where we're going to go from here. And I think particularly on the issue of lowering costs for Americans, the president has an important story to tell and really real ideas for what we can do.
Senator Smith, as you remember, in 2016, Donald Trump came close to winning Minnesota.
Yes, he did.
He has circled it on the map this time around. Do you think there's any chance Donald Trump could win if he becomes the Republican nominee, Minnesota? You
know, we are hell-bent to make sure that President Biden wins Minnesota. And Minnesota is like a lot of states, though. It is tough. It's going to be competitive. And the president will need to compete in Minnesota to make sure that we turn out our voters and we make the case to them. So I think that's the story, actually, of this whole election, that nothing can be taken for granted. The battles will be fierce, and you think about states like Ohio and think about states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin.
And Michigan.
And Michigan, exactly. But I think that that's what elections are all about. You know, tonight will be the first night that voters actually say something beyond speaking to pollsters about what they think. And so there's a long road ahead.
Nikki Haley says on her behalf that she runs ahead of President Biden by more than Trump or DeSantis and would be a more formidable Republican nominee. How do you assess Nikki Haley?
Well, you know, I look at just one of the issues that I care so much about, which is the freedom that women should have to make their own decisions about their health care, including abortion. Nikki Haley has supported a 6-week abortion ban. So I think that the issues where these Republican candidates come down are just out of step with most Americans. And that is why, as the campaign gets taken to voters, I think they'll start to see that.
Senator Smith, you know that there are misgivings. They show up in the polls about President Biden. Will he have enough to serve another 4 years? And that enough has a lot of different sub-definitions. There are kind of misgivings that show up in polling data that I haven't seen register for previous incumbents seeking re-election. How does the president overcome those misgivings, even within his own party?
Well, I think that the president is more than up to this job. And I think that as the campaign unfolds, voters will be able to see that. You think about this individual who has kind of like limitless reserves of energy, who goes all over the place. I think about the incredible effort that he went to get to Ukraine during the initial stages of the war. And I think about the efforts that he goes to every single day in the United States to get where people are and to talk to them. So it's not about energy, and it certainly isn't about experience, because this is an individual who I think is more prepared for this role than anything else. And it's not about the ability to get things done for Americans, because he's demonstrated that. All of that is but that's the discussion we're going to have this election, and I'm optimistic about it.
And very quickly, do you think that that discussion begins to clarify more Biden versus Trump after tonight?
I think so. I mean, I think we'll see, and by all accounts, the former president is far ahead. We'll see what happens, and then voters will have a choice.
So essentially, the general election begins, if it hasn't begun already, after tonight. Tina Smith, Democratic Senator from Minnesota, thank you so very much.